I'm Jamie.
And welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is the brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge.
Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our interest and curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies, and famous dead people. We're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we are diving into superstitions. Dun, dun, dun. We both have like a little list that, Jamie came up with randomly. And when she presented this idea of a podcast to me, she was like, hey, here's some topics. And then she's been adding on. So she added this one last, and this is the one that piqued my interest. So we chose superstitions this week.
Correct. And this is our first episode. Yay!
Woo! Whoop, whoop.
Welcome. Welcome on this journey with us.
We're so happy you're here. So, do you have the definition of what a superstition is?
I don't, but I can look it up really quickly if you want me to do
I think
it.
I have it. We're good. Okay. What is a superstition? It's a noun. Believe it or not.
Great. Love that.
Just kidding.
Love nouns. Nouns are great.
It's a noun. It says excessively credulous belief in a reverence for supernatural beings, or a wildly held but unjustified belief in supernatural causation leading to certain consequences of an action, event, or practice based on such a belief.
Wow.
So we decided to go kind of into the not really common types.
Very, very true.
Uncommon superstitions.
Well,
so the episode could be called Uncommon Superstitions.
Or we can call it whatever we want to call it. Maybe something funny is going to happen in this episode. Maybe we're comedic geniuses. Or maybe this will flop. Who knows?
Who knows? Let's find out.
But yeah. So we're going to start off with a coin flip to see who goes first. Okay. Do you want to be heads or do you want to be tails?
Well, you have a Greek coin.
I do have a Greek coin.
So we have to say it in Greek.
I don't want to, honestly. Let's save it for another episode.
Okay. It's not today.
It's
That's
stressful.
fine. Greek is stressful.
Listen, I learned a little Greek, and what I know is great. However, it was difficult, and I want to put a pause on it for now. Okay.
That's
heads
fine.
Or tails?
Let's go. Tails.
Okay. You ready? Who's it gonna be?
I'm ready.
It's heads.
Okay, your turn.
I'm going first. Okay. All right. You want to talk about superstitions? Ay. Okay. So, my superstition that I decided to do this on is whistling and the superstitions around whistling. Okay. So, the superstitions around whistling include at night, don't whistle at night, bad luck. In a home, do not whistle in your home, very bad luck. And backstage at a theater. Also, never whistle on a ship, ever. Don't do it. It's not a fun time for anyone.
So you can whistle nowhere, but like outside in the middle of nowhere.
In the morning.
Alone.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Yes.
Only in the morning.
Correct.
So only in the morning, outside, with no one around you.
I mean, I feel like you can whistle with people around you. However, just don't whistle in a house, like in your own home. And I'm assuming it's really rude to like whistle in somebody else's home, so probably don't do that.
And that's what I found too. There's so much bad luck and death surrounded by superstitions. There are some good superstitions, like, oh, if you do this, this will bring like good luck or fertility or something. But most of them are bad luck and death. like very, very horrific things
Correct.
to scare people.
Well, so whistling, there is a good luck aspect of it, but it is only in the morning. If you start your day off whistling, that is considered good luck. However, don't do it in your home. So, hey, go on a little walk, do some whistling, you get good luck. Bam. You're welcome.
That's how you have a good day, everybody.
Yes.
What about the people who don't know how to whistle?
That sucks for you. Figure it out, I guess. I don't know. However, if you don't know how to whistle, there's more bad luck that comes along with whistling. So, good for you in that case. Okay, let's kind of dig into it a little bit. Let's talk about the difference in, or like different cultures' versions of this. In Greece, since we were talking about Greek, in Greece, it is believed to be the language of evil spirits. And by whistling, you can attract those evil spirits. In Britain, there is a kind of like old wives' tales that revolved around the 7 whistlers or 7 birds or deities that foretell death or great catastrophes. In Mexico, whistling at night is believed to invite lechuza, I think that's how you say that, is a witch that transforms into an owl that will fly over and carry the whistler away. So that's terrifying. In Korea, it is believed that whistling at night summons ghosts, demons, or even other creatures. Snakes were also thought to be called by whistling. And then we also have Native American belief that whistling at night summons a skinwalker, and if it whistles back, you better get the fuck out of there, because you...
A skinwalker?
Yeah.
What's a skinwalker?
I didn't do a lot of research into that.
That sounds disgusting and scary.
It's not a good thing, from what I can tell. In Hawaii, it is thought to invoke hukaipo. I think that's how you say it. From what I found, I think it translates to night marchers. And they are death-dealing ghosts. Or it's also to believed in Hawaiian culture to summon the menehune, which is...
That's correct.
Oh, thank you. Which is forest-dwelling dwarves. I could not find any negative things about these forest-dwelling dwarves, so I don't know why you would want to not summon them.
Right. And Hawaii, I lived in Hawaii for about 6 years. That doesn't make me a local or anything like that, but they have very strong superstitions about these night marchers. It's like you do not want to be outside when these night marchers are here, and they can come by whistling, or you could just be in the path of them. And it's like essentially, if you are in the mountains or if your house is along the mountainside, which some people's are, and you see torches, just like a trail of torch lights in the mountains, those are night marchers. They're like a spiritual, just a spiritual embodiment, I guess. And if they see you, they will take you with them. So in turn, you'll die. So they're like, you hide or you book it out there, go in your house if you see night marchers. Very, very heavy superstition in Hawaii. Super heavy.
I also found that night marchers, I don't know, it was only in like 1 or 2 sources, so I don't know if it's like to be a fact, but they believe night marchers are warriors that had passed on, and now
Correct.
They just kind of roam around, do their own thing.
Correct, but you want to stay away.
Stay away. Warriors will
they
always
protect-
be warriors.
Yes, they protect their territories, and I guess wherever they spawn is their territory. So
yeah,
stay away.
Spawn. It's just Minecraft, honestly. And they just spawn. Crazy. And this one I found really interesting. In Slavic cultures, like so Russia and other Slavic cultures like that, they believe that whistling indoors brings poverty, specifically in your home. And there's so many more, and they all kind of revolve around summoning like ghosts or demons or something along those lines. I don't know. It's crazy to think that like, because like I've never really heard of, other than we both did theater for a while. And when we did theater, I remember that like one of the first times that I ever stepped foot in a theater, I was told, never whistle backstage. Never. It is bad luck. Don't do it. It's bad. That's the only time that I've ever heard whistling is bad luck.
Huh.
But yeah. Did you know of that one for the theater one?
I didn't know that one because I guess nobody wanted to scare me since I was fairly new. I don't know. But they never told me that. And it's like that's very difficult not to do, especially when you do musicals, which is majority of what we did, if not all.
Well, also on top of that, I wasn't told to be like scared. I was told because obviously there can be whistling on stage if it's like part of the script, but it's like saying the M word in theater, Macbeth.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's just, it is, which I'll get into later about the theater stuff about it, but it's just known as bad luck. But yeah, so there's like tons of different beliefs around the whistling. And so let's kind of dive in a little to poverty and whistling. So with poverty and whistling, it was very, very hard to find an origin to this. I have a friend from Belarus, and I texted her this morning and I was like, listen, do you have this superstition? And she was like, absolutely. This superstition is so ingrained into our society that I was told as a child, never whistle inside. Never whistle in your own home. And she was also told that it was, you will become poor. And I was like, why? Why is this where did this come from? And she was like, I don't know. I've just always been told that. So this has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. And it is just something that's so ingrained in their society that they have no clue where it comes from. And that's just from my own, like, personal experience with my friends telling me that. However, I did find a couple things that kind of related to this. And, like, the most common expression that I found was whistling away your money. And obviously I have assumptions based around that. And I think the thing that makes the most sense to me, again, this is full assumption. This is not me saying this is a fact. This is an assumption. But Russians are believed to like not have a carefree attitude towards money and work. So like my assumption is they believe they have to work hard for their money instead of having like a lackadaisical approach to working. Whereas like some cultures, it's like, do what you want, you know? But their culture is like, you have to work and you have to work hard. So to me, that's the thing that makes the most sense is like, if you're whistling, then you're not working hard enough. In my mind, that's what I believe that means, whistling away your money. But yeah, so that's kind of the origin, not really, this is my assumption, of poverty with whistling. Which now takes me into sailing and whistling. So, it is believed to be extremely bad luck to whistle on a ship or a boat of any kind. When pirates were about, when Navy and like anybody who like works on a boat
works on a boat.
It was believed that whistling would literally change the course of wind, which could cause storms. So like if you were to whistle while you're on a boat, you could whistle a storm into existence, is basically what they believed.
That's some witchcraft shit right there.
Right? Yeah, so the sailors would like never ever whistle on a boat. They would just wouldn't. And but heavy but but donk, sorry. Heavy but
Heavy butt.
yes. If the sailors were to get stuck on the water, so say there's like no wind, they can't go anywhere, they can't do anything. They're just like, how do we move forward? Because like, especially like a big ship, it's you can't really row those, you know? So
Yeah.
they believed that whistling could help bring winds in so they could start moving again.
So then they actually kind of want the storm, but just like a little windstorm.
Yeah. But they like,
Just a little.
but only if it's no wind whatsoever. So there's that. But get this. I'm not sure how this came about, but it was just like a fun little tidbit that I found. The British Royal Navy had like a whistle that was not like whistling with your mouth, but they had a physical whistle. They would use the whistle to actually give orders, and it would tell you where to go, what to do, depending on the whistle that was used. That being said, it became a law that if you were working on, or if you were on a British Royal Navy ship, you were not allowed to whistle whatsoever. Because if you were to whistle on a ship, on the Royal Navy ship, they would consider that treason, because you could be giving someone orders to go do something that they weren't supposed to be doing, because didn't come from the government. It came from a random person whistling.
So you walk the plank.
Maybe I didn't read that, but I like to imagine they walked the plank on that. So, but yeah,
They whistle and summon Jaws.
oh god, just like comes and eats the ship.
Summon ye Kraken.
Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about as far as ships and, well, not really ships, just like the Britishness of whistling.
Britishness.
The Britishness of whistling. That was my band name in college. We just whistled. It was an outdoor band, don't worry.
In the morning.
In the morning. We only performed at like 8 a.m. in the morning. Okay. So, we're going to talk about the 7 whistlers, which I mentioned earlier when I was kind of giving a brief overview of whistling in general. So, the 7 whistlers, also known as the 7 birds, which also some people say are deities. Not sure. We'll figure that out later. I'm done researching this, so I'm not going to figure it out later. If anybody wants to tell me about it, you are more than welcome to tell me about it. It'd be great. Thanks. But the 7 birds were known to fly together by night. And they would have these cries that would kind of warn people of disaster. And it was fairly common among seamen and coal miners. In the 19th century, these were like believed to be like risky occupations. And it was thought to be unlucky, like I said earlier. But it was said to bring spirits of the dead, especially to those who had themselves been miners. So like miners or fishermen who had died would answer these calls of whistles, and they would bring warning of the dangers that they're summoning by whistling. So there's that.
So nocturnal birds, bad.
Yes, nocturnal birds bad, unless you yourself are a nocturnal bird.
I mean, that's what I was in my past life.
Relatable. So, okay, the last thing, well, not the last thing. So now we're going to talk about spirits and whistling, which I could not find a lot on, like, about the origin of this, but it seems to be the most common throughout all cultures, that by whistling, especially at night, it summons demons or spirits or ghosts, like anything supernatural. And I really tried to find where it came from, and it was difficult. I could not find it.
The one I have too is so difficult to kind
Right.
of, well, one of them I have two, so difficult
Right.
to find origins because they're everywhere.
Right. But here's my assumption. So my assumption is that nighttime is scary, right? It's a scary time.
Yes.
It's dark. The unknown is scary. You can't see anything. It's scary. And by making noises, you would attract things that also could be scary. And this is my assumption. This is not fact. I just want to point that out again. But you don't want to make noises to attract scary things. So I say that it was maybe
You shut up.
you shut up at night. I also, like, if I really think about it, I feel like it might have been influenced by the church. That is a maybe, a hard maybe. Like,
Hard maybe.
yes.
Religion, let's not get into it, but just possibility, opinion, what's the word? Allegedly.
Allegedly. Definitely. But yeah, I feel like it could have been like brought about by the church, because like if you really think about it, they're like demons and scary things and ghosts and surrender to God and all that jazz.
Facts.
Right? And like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. That's just my assumption. I can't pinpoint like where that comes from exactly. I just know that it's nighttime scary, and that's all she wrote on that. However,
That's all she wrote.
I did read somewhere that the Korean, like in Korea, it was kind of well known. Well, maybe not well known. It was thought to be a superstition because it was told to children by adults to prevent them from making noise at night.
So that they just go to sleep.
Right. And like, that also could be a very viable explanation for all of these places of like, we want these damn kids to go to sleep, so let's scare them. So yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
there's that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, because this is the reason why I chose this in particular, is the whistling in theater is bad luck. I found that this superstition started in the middle of the 1600s when theatrical scenery began to fly. So like when they had ropes and things, and it
Yes.
was like up and down, and you had curtains stuff. If you know theater, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
When it began to fly, they started hiring sailors to work the ropes, because they like had a lot of knowledge with ropes because they were sailors, and they had a lot of knowledge of knots and things. And then just from my own personal knowledge of whistling in the theater, I believe that it stems from, this is what I've been told, so I'm not 100% sure about this, but this is what I've been told. I believe that it stems from, I guess, just like causing bad luck in general, but it's distracting, and people can get hurt, especially when there are flying things, like either people flying, or if there are scenery going up and down. It's distracting and can easily hurt people. So it's just a safety precaution for the most part. However, it is also just known to be bad luck. It's also like, I've seen it in movies of where there'll be like a scene where there's like backstage stuff, and somebody will like whistle or like say Macbeth or something, and then out of nowhere a sandbag drops on their head. Like, so it's like well known to be a bad luck thing, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so that is the superstition whistling, and that is where it came from and kind of where it came from and my assumptions about where it came from.
I love a good opinion.
Yeah, and that is it. Boom.
Awesome.
Whistling.
Boom. Round of applause. The crowd goes wild. All right. So now we're going to go on a pee break, and then it's my turn.
Yes.
BRB. And we're back. For you, that was a millisecond.
For us, it was an eternity.
Exactly. We missed you guys. Okay, so my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, for people who, I guess, aren't super familiar with superstitions, which that's kind of hard to believe because everybody has a superstition. Everybody's grown up with at least one.
Right. If it's like don't walk under a ladder, or pick up
Friday the 13th.
Or pick up a penny and put it in your shoe.
Breaking a mirror.
Yeah.
Like all of that.
I actually used to do the picking up the penny and putting it in my shoe. I actually used to do it.
Really?
Yeah. And so like what I used to do is I would see a penny, and if it was on heads, I'd pick it up and put it in my shoe. If it was on tails, I would flip it over for somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like, is it supposed to be put in a different, like in a specific position?
I think, well, yeah, it has to be on heads.
It has to be on heads, yeah.
And then I would put it under my heel, and apparently that's supposed to give you good luck, and I never had bad luck when I had it, so whatever. Maybe I'll start doing that again. That was fun. And also it made me feel like...
It is pretty fun,
It made me feel kind of like a good person to, like, flip a penny over and be like, somebody else can have good luck.
Yeah, true. Very true. But, yes, so those are some very basic, well-known beliefs. But I was diving into some things, and when you were talking about boats, I remember a big chunk of what I was going to talk about was revolved around boat superstitions.
Nice.
So, the one that I found that first piqued my interest was cheersing with water.
Oh.
You probably looked into that.
I did see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cheersing with water.
Which I've done before. Oops.
I've done it too.
Well,
so I was very shocked.
Sometimes you can't drink.
Yeah.
Like the other...
What about the pregnant people in the back?
True.
Okay.
But also, like, I was on an antibiotic, like, a couple weeks ago for bronchitis, and, like, I couldn't drink. So, like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I think they are just, like, get a mocktail or something. I don't know. But cheersing with water apparently is a very, very big no-no. Mm-hmm. It was commonly... or is most commonly used as a superstition in Germany.
I think I did know
that. It's a big no-no there. That's one of the ingrained societies about cheersing with water is not to do it in Germany. So don't do it there.
Everywhere else,
but
go ahead.
Anywhere else, go ahead. I'm sure there's other places. But it's really hard with superstitions because there's so many different variances of them. Here, there, left, right, up, down, spin around, all those areas. So, the origin that I could find was in good old Greece. We're back to Greece again.
Ayo.
Those superstitious
we both talked
people.
about Greece in this episode after I used my Greek coin. Ooh.
Greek coin. Hello.
It actually wasn't like
first episode.
It wasn't like money. It's like it was just like a souvenir coin from.
But it's still from Greece,
right.
So.
It's from the. Oh God, I dropped it. From the Parthenon. Parthenon.
Parthenon. She studied Greek, everybody.
I promise I can say things.
She can, actually.
But
Greek mythology, we're back.
That means thank you, I think. Yeah,
something like that. But I saw that it was originated in Greece. So in ancient Greek mythology, the dead would drink from the river Lethe, Lethe. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. But they would drink from that river in the underworld to forget about their lives above. Thus,
Relatable.
as a symbol of their transition, I know, right? As a symbol of their transition, the Greeks would offer a toast with water in their glasses to send off their dead. So, in turn, they would, if you drink or cheers with water, you're essentially wishing death upon someone, because that's how the Greeks send off their dead, was with cheersing with water so that they can forget their lives. But I mean, there's some tidbits I would like to forget, so I'll just cheers with water. But there's also lots of traditions with toasting that bring in good luck and all that stuff, but it's just water. There's a lot of things with water. There's a lot of superstitions and folktales that surround drowning. Like, if you do a specific thing, you'll die by drowning, or some monster, river spirit or something will. Well, I can't. Well, toasting with water brings on one of those.
But I need to know.
By drowning.
Listen, I need to know why. Like, what is like? If I do it, am I gonna drown? I need to know those things.
Well, if you toast with water, you'll die by drowning.
What if I'm toasting for someone else?
If they died.
I'm only thinking about it. I'm not gonna do it.
But a lot of them saying, like, toast with water means you'll die by drowning. So there's actually a very big, I'm coming back to the boats, navy.
A very big boat.
A very big boat. So like a naval boat.
Mm-hmm. Where they are not whistling.
They're not where they cannot whistle. They have, the Navy, the military have so many rules.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on boats.
I never saw anything about whistling on an American Navy boat. It's just the British one.
Well, hear me out. There is an entire manual written for the military on what they can and cannot do on a mess night. And if you don't know what a mess night is, it's pretty much a sanctioned hangout amongst military personnel. So it's just a night on a boat or in a big facility of some sort where they just hang out, drink, have fun. It doesn't matter your rank. It doesn't matter like anything, regarding, you're just all hanging out. That's what a mess night is. There is a military manual. It's called the U.S. Navy Mess Night Manual. Very, very basic. But it has the do's and don'ts on what you can and cannot do during mess night. And toasting with water is one of them.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
I haven't...
It's a military manual.
Right.
And you can't toast with water.
Listen, I have a friend who was in the Navy. I'm going to ask him.
You should. You definitely should.
And then if
they've been on a boat a lot.
He was stationed for a while. Like he is no longer active duty, I don't think. But yeah, he's no longer active duty, and I think he's been out of active duty for like 2-3 years ish.
You should definitely ask him and let me know.
Yeah. Next episode, I'll update you guys.
Okay, cool. But you're not supposed to toast with hard liquors either in the manual.
Why?
So you can't toast with water, hard liquors, or soft drinks.
Sounds dumb to me.
There wasn't a lot of information about the soft drinks, but water is wishing death upon someone, and the hard liquors usually will do a toast with the dead. So you'll have like your shot of a hard liquor, and you'll pour a little bit on someone's grave, because it's like a final cheers. So both of them are wrapped around death.
Is it
not bad luck, but death?
Is it specific to the Navy, or is it like, well-known other places? Like, is it...
So liquors are well known around a lot of different places because you'll see in movies, TV shows, stories, they always will take a shot for themselves and pour a shot for the dead wherever they're laying, or the place that they were murdered or died. They'll pour it on the ground, on a rock, on a tree, on the gravestone, or they'll just pour a glass and they'll just leave it on top of the tombstone. There's a lot around hard liquors and cheersing to the dead. So
Good to know.
it's very well known everywhere, but this is a specific book that was created by the military that you can't do, and they have some extremely hard superstitious things and rules in there that you cannot do. I thought that was very interesting.
That is very interesting.
No real logic around it at all, but they say you cannot do this. Like a military order, you cannot do this. I thought that was very funny. But it says if you cheers with someone using water, you're wishing death upon them. So it's all wrapped around death. I thought that was really cool. Very interesting, I guess, more than cool, because it's just like the mindsets of how engraved these superstitions are. You can and cannot do things to like a scary percent. Like you'll have repercussions from people, not the superstition, but people, if you do these things that you're not supposed to do. That's insane to me.
Interesting.
The other superstition that I had is one that I thought of immediately. I didn't look into it immediately, but it was an immediate thought when I saw the text message from Jamie saying, you know, which one are we going to choose? And I saw superstitions. I thought it's the moon, full moon. There's so much around the full moon.
That is true.
There's so much. The moon just
as someone
is the all-powerful being.
As someone who is fascinated by astrology and like Wicca, that's correct.
There's a lot of stuff. Yes, so much around the moon. And my mom is a labor and delivery nurse. She has been for about 20 years. A long time. And every single month, when it is a full moon and she has to work, she dreads it. She finds any way to not go to work. I'm not kidding. Unless she is getting time and a half or some sort of like bonus for working that night, she will not work. She hates working on full moons.
Why? I need explanations.
Because, and I didn't look into the scientific side of this, but you know, the Earth has magnetic points, certain rotations, certain amounts of energy, depending on where the Earth is and the rotation, like all this kind of stuff.
Tides and stuff.
It can trigger actual natural things. Okay? That's kind of fact there. And it's because it's kind of how certain sounds, like if you were just sitting and you heard a piercing noise for long enough, what will happen? You'll either go crazy or get really angry. Or it's like a mental thing. It pulls on your body's natural instincts, which I thought was cool. But I didn't dive too deep into it, so I can't tell you exactly why the moon affects. But apparently, everybody goes into labor. Everyone. Preterm. Everything. So, my mom has told me some wild stories. So, it's either you have Braxton Hicks contractions, which are pre-contractions, if you don't know, when you're pregnant. So you'll have, your body will start cramping really, really hard, like a contraction, but it's not like a real contraction. And so people go to the hospital for that. People go into preterm labor. People go into full-on labor. And then with the like magnetic pull, a lot of sources say that it triggers anger. When there's a full moon, it triggers anger. It triggers frustration. So they say that on a full moon, hospitals experience like an influx of patients all around, and that crimes and criminals get more aggressive, and people in general can feel really irritable, angsty, angry. It just kind of magnifies a feeling really badly. And so my mom would have to take care of these patients who are in labor, and essentially she's like, they're monsters. They're always angry, or they're always extremely terrified beyond consoling.
Crazy.
It's just a wild thing. And she works all times during the week. She works all times of the year. She's traveled to different states doing travel nursing, and it's all the same story. It's
That's crazy.
Insane. She refuses to work on a full moon. She is very superstitious, but she does not like working on a full moon.
And just like to add on to that, so as someone who does have an interest in Wicca, I'm not like a practicer or anything. I just find it fascinating, and like I like learning about it. And I've had some friends that we have like done some stuff on like full moons and like new moons and stuff like that. And we definitely, so like on like new moons, we usually have like kind of a manifestation party. And then in a full moon, we have like a release party where we like let go of things that like happened in the previous time before. But
Right.
yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of witchcraft surrounding the moons.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of another topic, but not super deep into it. I didn't, because there was way too much. Every single religion, every single practice, every single country, every single town, city, so many areas have magical superstitions around the moon. So many. A lot of people like to use it as an energy source. A lot of it is to bring on chaos, but there's also good things that come from it too, like being able to release negative energies, being able to rejuvenate, re-energize certain things. There's so much around the moon. It's absolutely insane. We would have to do another episode on the moon itself. I am not personally interested in Wicca. I don't practice at all. Side note, that's what's so cool about mine and Jamie's dynamic, is that we are very, very different human beings, but we love each other so much.
We would die for each other. Well, I would die for you. I don't know if you'd die for me. I'm assuming.
I would die for you, but I would have to make sure that somebody has my kid.
That's true. I fully understand that.
But yeah, so they say that moons can predict a lot of things as well. The moon can predict droughts.
That makes
That
sense,
was a thing.
because if you think of like the tide and how it like depending on like how far close the moon is, it like changes water, and that makes sense.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Exactly. And I thought that was interesting, because if a moon is in a specific position, so crescent, not necessarily just a full moon, this is a crescent moon.
Okay.
And where you are in the world, like when you're looking at the moon specifically, it's during that very niche time where it's becoming night, where the sun is, you know, which moon phase, all this kind of stuff, which tilt you're in, so which season you're in. When you look at the moon, and if the points of the crescent are facing more upwards, so you have the crescent moon, looks like a C, essentially. If the points are crooked, so if it's like just catty corner to where the points are both facing upwards, that means a drought's about to come, because it symbolizes a basket of sorts. So the moon is holding the water.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's so cool. It sounds like it could come from Native American culture of like, I don't know, it just sounds like something that
That's true. I couldn't find anything super deep into it because everybody's just like 55 things you didn't know about the moon. So they don't go in depth about it, but it symbolizes a drought because it's showing you that the moon is taking the water. The moon is holding the water from you. And they put this on a lot of bad luck. Essentially, it's like the earth is telling you you're about to have bad luck. I didn't see anything positive about it. So if you see the moon facing forward, you're going to have a drought. And that's also up for interpretation as well. It can be about wealth. It could be about water. It could be about, there's a whole bunch of things. Another, infertility. Again, like, so many things that it means. And then the moon is also wrapped around, of course, death. Because everything that involves superstitions. Everything equals death. Whistling, water, the moon, everything means death.
Correct.
Wrapped around. So it's saying that, or it said online that the earth, or that the moon is a symbol of the soul. Which, that's a lot of witchcraft, Wicca, spiritual symbols in a lot of different cultures. Yin and yang, for example, is the spirit of light and the spirit of dark. So or a symbol of the moon, symbol of this, like, just opposites. So if you look into a lot of cultures, a lot of stories, they have a lot of yin and yang, and a lot of them are beings or beasts that stem from the moon. So when the full moon is over this specific river in this specific country, the ice dragon will bring XYZ, you know. So it's the moon.
To meet an ice dragon.
I would love to meet an ice dragon.
That would be. I could be like, so cool. What's her name from Game of Thrones? She was my favorite character.
Oh my gosh, what's her name?
I forget. Damn it. I only watched.
I just saw her picture yesterday too. Everybody from Game of Thrones.
Is her name like her real name?
All
like
the
Amelia?
fans are gonna get so mad.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Amelia. But yeah, so it's a symbol of the soul and life. So up and down, whichever religion, whichever culture that you were raised in, the moon more than likely has some sort of spiritual meaning to you, unless you're from America. I don't know if there's a single American folklore wrapped around the moon. I can't think of one.
I'm sure there's like Native American stuff around it, but like
Native American 100%, but not like
true-blooded American culture.
We're America.
Where we have Ford trucks and
guns. And our flags and our Miller Lite.
And our guns that we have the right to bear arms.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we're both from the South. I don't sound like it. She doesn't sound like it. You might be able to pick up on some tidbits of country accent, but other than that...
Right. Well, I feel like your accent is like a little there. It's still not like super thick. And I went to theater school, and they drilled that shit out of me.
True.
Side note, little rabbit hole. When I was in theater school, I had a monologue that I had to do, and it was a monologue of the princess from Love Labor's Lost, and in that monologue, the word naked was in it. However, at the time, I could not comprehend that was an accent that I was using. That was like the standard American accent, what I just said, because I was consciously thinking about it. But I would constantly say naked instead of naked.
Oh, naked.
I know. And like, my teacher yelled at me, and he was like, Jamie, no! You're going harder on the southern accent. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, you did not want to have a conversation with me and Jamie probably about 10 years ago because we had terrible country accents.
Very, very thick.
So thick. I was made fun of when I moved to Hawaii so much.
Wow.
They loved it, but they would repeat everything I said.
That's crazy.
In the way I said it. So that knocked out of me real quick
Right.
because I was just like, this country accent has got to go. I wasn't born in the South. I was born in Virginia. But when I moved here as a kid, so it got there, but I was able to come back from it. Luckily, it wasn't ingrained in my head when I was a baby to say naked, you know?
Well, for me, I was born and I was raised true-blooded Southern woman, I guess. I don't know. And then I moved to New York to go to college. And I was in New York City. And the amount of people that immediately thought I was dumb was astronomical. I felt so underestimated constantly. And so that also was a motivator of like getting rid of the accent, is because I was just like, why do people keep underestimating me? Why are people constantly telling me, oh, you don't get it. Oh, maybe I can teach you about that someday. Like, and I was like, I already know about that. Why are you? I don't know.
It's because you said naked and y'all and all. I still say y'all, but I just don't mind it. I think that's why I haven't consciously tried to get rid of it. But people at my job love talking to me on the phone. Mm-hmm. So I work in a place where I have to talk to people on the phone sometimes. And when I do, first of all, they think I'm a child, which is fine. And then second of all, they're just like, you sound like a fairy. That's a legit compliment I got one time. I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's awesome. So one more thing. I wanted to know what superstitions you were raised with specifically.
Me?
Because I thought that was something that we could talk about, yeah.
Oh, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like my family's not super superstitious. I remember my mom not liking black cats. And, like, she was like, don't let a black cat walk in front of you. But I don't really remember, like, a lot of that. Like, I just remember she would just get weird about it. And I think maybe I searched it separately from her because I was like, why is she like this? And then also at school, it was step on a crack, break your mother's back.
Of course.
And then the ladder thing.
Yeah, for me, it was bread and butter. Have you heard of that one?
No.
So my mom is so terrified of this one. She's naturally a very big stress magnet. She puts herself in a lot of situations where she stresses herself the fuck out. It's so bad. But bread and butter, if you don't say it, she will yell at you in public. She will freak out until you say it. And I've straight up told her, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, superstitions, like I'm religious. Yes. I was going to get to it, but I'm fairly religious, to a certain extent. And I told her, I was like, I do not want to say bread and butter because it's pagan. And that's my own personal opinion. I just don't want to say it. So she freaks out all the time. So bread and butter is what you're supposed to say when you walk separately past something. So, for example,
okay.
Yeah. So those big old poles that are in front of stores, for example, like if before you walk into Walmart or a Sam's Club or any type of store, there's these concrete poles sometimes in between, just so that buggies can come in and out and to prevent wrecks from smashing the doors, essentially. If my mom is walking and she walks by one and I walk on the other side of it. So if we're on opposite sides of this pole and we both walk into an entrance, if you don't say bread and butter, it's bad luck. It's same thing with a bush. Let's say we're going to walk to the car and she parked in the grass and she goes around one side of the bush and I go around the other side of the bush. She says, say bread and butter. Bread and butter. Say bread and butter. Karina, say bread and butter. So if you are walking with someone and you separate to go around an object, you're supposed to say bread and butter or else it'll bring in bad luck.
That just sounds like kind of dumb.
Exhausting.
Well, I don't get why,
like she will freak out.
Like, is it going to bring bad luck to her if you don't say it? Or is she...
I think it's bringing bad luck to both of us, but it's like a ritual. So both have to say...
Why?
To prevent bad luck.
Okay, I mean, you can't control
I guess
what
it's
other
because
people
we're going, I think it's wrapped around decisions. You know how like there's certain superstitions or magical sayings wrapped around futures.
Yeah.
So like your decisions will cause an effect. Each decision causes an effect. If you are going on the same path as someone and you partially separate and then come back to, you separated causing a different decision, causing a different outcome, and then you come back together on that same path, you're causing like some sort of a ripple which causes chaos.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Well, you know me. I love chaos.
But yeah, other than that, knocking on wood.
Oh, yeah, that one. Ooh, and the penny thing, I think also came from my mom, because I remember finding a penny when I was, like, younger, and she was like, and I was like, look, I found a penny on the ground, and she was like, oh, pick it up, and you'll have good luck. And then also, I remember the movie Grease.
See a penny, pick it up.
I like it, have good luck. Yeah.
And then I have one more, and that's opening umbrellas indoors. I don't know. I need to look into why this is, because this is one I did not do research on, but it is a very common one. It's not to open umbrellas indoors.
Interesting.
Yeah, she would freak out because Ollie had a little toy umbrella, and she's like, don't open that in here.
I feel like that, I knew about that one when I was younger, too. But, again, I feel like my mom is just always so, like, lackadaisical. Like, she believes, like, in a superstition. She's not going to force it on anybody. She's just like...
Yeah, my mom definitely does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like my mom's just relaxed with superstitions. Like, I know she believes in certain things. Like, I'm pretty sure she believes in the black cat. But...
She is the type to be like, I'm not doing that. You can do it. I'm not doing that because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
That's what she does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's it. Those are my superstitions. They were super fun. We need to do another episode on this because it was really fun.
It was fun.
I really enjoyed looking up research on these things.
I kept going down rabbit holes of, like, I don't know. It was just, like, constant, like, oh, here's another thing, and here's another thing, and here's another thing, and here's another thing. And, like, I was just like, wow. And I kept getting distracted because ADHD. The topic of the podcast.
The topic of the podcast. But, yeah. So, we are going to probably... Well, Jamie is the magical genius around editing and all that stuff. She's awesome. She's so good at it. And I am going to be the one to sit around until Friday when we pick a new topic for Sunday.
Correct.
Which is when we're recording. So we record on Sundays. So we'll usually have a new podcast out eventually every week.
Yeah, we haven't decided on a day yet.
But you'll know we'll record them. Yeah. But we decided to record them on Sundays. So it'll definitely be created on a Sunday.
Correct.
So until next time, we will see you later. Have a great day. Have a great week. Do something good for yourself.
Yeah.
And find a reason to smile.
Exactly. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.